Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. So, a few days ago, I read a disturbing story out of Cobb County, Georgia, about a police officer who made some rather disturbing statements. So, this officer, Cobb County Lieutenant Greg Abbott, pulled over a white woman accused of driving under the influence. And when he pulled this woman over, she expressed concern. She was concerned about the police officer possibly shooting her. This police officer told her to make a telephone call. He said that he sees her cell phone on her lap and that she should reach for it and make a call because it's my understanding that her car was going to be confiscated or whatever because she was allegedly driving under the influence. So this woman expresses concerns about police shootings, talking about how she's seen videos of people reaching for something and getting shot by the police. So this officer proceeds to tell this woman that the videos are videos of black people getting killed. And then he says, remember, we only kill black people. Yeah, we only kill black people, right? Now he's telling her this. She's a white woman, and he's basically saying, you don't have anything to worry about. You're a white woman. I'm not going to kill you. You can make your telephone call and all that kind of stuff. So obviously, this created a lot of controversy. A lot of people have been talking about it. Now, this video was captured back in July 2016, and it was only released recently this year. So people have been talking about it. Now, this officer's attorney says that you have to look at the statements in context. He was trying to de-escalate the situation. That was his intent. His intent was not racism and all that kind of stuff. That's essentially what his attorney is saying. And you have some people saying that he was being sarcastic and all that kind of stuff. They're trying to downplay the significance of these statements and just basically saying that he was doing what was necessary to deal with the situation. So in response to this, I'll say this, number one, often there's truth, sarcasm. Like a lot of times people are sarcastic, but while they're being sarcastic, they are expressing a truth. And sometimes people cover up the truth with sarcasm and with joking around to actually say what they really mean to say, to actually say what is actually true. And we know that there is some truth in what this man is saying when he talks about we only kill black people. Now, when you look at it on a literal sense, obviously it's not true. Plenty of white people have been attacked by police. Plenty of white people have been killed by police. So obviously on its face, it's not true. But when you go to the heart of the matter, you see that there is truth within that statement. You see that black men in particular are targeted by these police. The Washington Post, they do an annual study of police shootings. And in 2015, they found that black men made up 6% of the US population, but were about 40% of the unarmed people killed by the police. Now, they have since done similar studies. They have been doing these studies every year, these reports. So in 2016, the number declined to 32% of the unarmed people being killed by the police are African American men. And in 2017, that was down to 26%. And we're only about like a little more than halfway through the year. Towards the end of the year, the statistics will probably go up for 2017. But here you have a situation where black men only make up 6% of the population, but they are overrepresented, vastly overrepresented when you look at the numbers of unarmed people being killed by the police. So that speaks to a problem of black men in particular and black people in general being targeted by these police for being killed, for being brutalized and all that kind of stuff. So there is some validity to that man's statement when he talks about how only black people are being killed by the police. When you look at the videos, all these videos released of people being killed by the police, it is clear that there is a pattern of black men being targeted by these police. When you look at the video of Sam Dubose getting his head blown off over some minor traffic matter. When you look at the situation involving Philando Castile, where the brother was shot to death while in the car with his girlfriend and his girlfriend's daughter. And in many of these cases, it's captured on video. Sam DuBose was captured on police video camera. Philando Castile's killing was captured on Facebook Live. You know, shortly after he was shot, it was captured on Facebook Live. We saw that brother bleed to death. And then we have the case of Alton Sterling. We have the case of Terrence Crutcher. We have Oscar Grant. We have Eric Garner, who he wasn't shot, but he was choked to death on video. So you have all these situations where black men are being killed by these police, where in many of these situations you have video evidence of these killings. And then often in these cases, nothing happens. You know, these police are not even charged, and when they are charged, they get away with it. And you had another case. I mean, this year, the brother Jordan Edwards, who was leaving a party, you know, while him and his group were driving away from a party, a police officer opened fire into that vehicle using a AR-15, killing this young brother, snuffing his brother out in the prime of his life. So yeah, I mean, there is truth behind that statement. And that's part of the reason probably why, you know, the man got fired, because they don't want this kind of truth to be exposed. They don't want this attitude that is pervasive in many police departments to be exposed, because we know that you wouldn't have these types of patterns of killing. You know, you wouldn't have a situation where black men are disproportionately killed by these police when black men are unarmed. You wouldn't have this kind of situation if that kind of mindset did not exist within a police department. And that kind of mentality didn't exist in police departments around this country. So again, you know, it just reflects that, you know, it reflects the fact that for many of these police officers, black lives don't mean anything. For many of these police officers, white lives have value and black lives don't. There's a completely different attitude when it comes to policing white people versus black people. We know this. We've seen situations where white people can be belligerent, white people can be armed, and the police have a different strategy and approach when dealing with them, when dealing with uncooperative white people, when dealing with armed white people. Their approach and their strategy is completely different. They care about human life at that point. They're trying to do everything that they can to avoid the loss of life in those situations. They're trying to do everything that they can to negotiate the situation when it involves white people. But when it comes to black people, it's shoot first and ask questions later. We've seen it time and time again how the police deal with armed white people versus how they deal with armed black people. So, and then, you know, when they're unarmed, it's a completely different situation as well. You know, they assume that a black man who's unarmed is armed. They assume that a black man who is unarmed is dangerous. They assume that a black man who is unarmed is a criminal, and they deal with black people as such. They deal with us as if our lives mean absolutely nothing. And this video that was released is just another reminder of that. And also, you know, this woman's apprehension or her concerns that she expressed, I mean, I think that that speaks to a larger issue as well. It speaks to the fact that this whole situation is even going beyond just affecting African Americans. It's gotten to a point where it affects the police ability to even do their job, to effectively police communities. You know, if a white woman has this kind of apprehension after seeing all those videos and stuff like that of police being brutal, of police killing unarmed people, then imagine the mentality of the black community when we are bombarded with this constant police terrorism. Make no mistake about it, when we see these videos of these police officers killing unarmed people, that's a form of psychological terrorism. When we see that these police can do this and get away with it, that's a form of psychological terrorism. And when people are in fear of the people who are supposed to protect them, That destroys police-community relations. That makes it impossible for the police to effectively do their job. And it appears that this is going outside of just the Black community. Now you have other people who have fear of the police after seeing these acts of brutality committed by police. Before I go, I just have to point this out. This officer who was involved in this, he has been forced to retire. According to some reports, he's been terminated, and in other reports, they say, well, he's been given an opportunity to retire, which means he will reap certain benefits and all that kind of stuff. I really don't think that this man should just be given an opportunity to retire and get all these benefits and all that kind of stuff. He should be terminated because we don't need people like this in police departments. We don't need to give people the wrong impression that this is acceptable conduct for a police officer to engage in. We don't need to project that idea. People need to know that they will be held accountable for their deeds and for their statements. So with that, I'll just say please rate, comment, and subscribe. Peace.